Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Today, we are exploring a fascinating and honestly incredibly practical concept. We're talking about bridging that incredibly stubborn gap between knowing exactly what you need to do and actually being able to pull it off when the moment arrives. To do this, we're going to walk through the architecture of a brilliant digital tool called the Human Readiness Ecocenter. Think of it as your pocket architect or a personal professional coaching toolkit right in your back pocket. It's specifically designed to keep you honest in who you're becoming and to build genuine structural integrity into your daily progress.
So, to start us off, let me ask you this. Why do we know exactly what to do, but completely fail to do it under pressure? Seriously, think about it for a second. You probably know all the best practices for leadership or communication or setting healthy boundaries. You've read the books. Yet when the stakes get high, when the conflict is staring you in the face, or when you are just completely exhausted, why do you freeze? Why do you overthink, or start people-pleasing, or suddenly take on responsibilities that definitely aren't yours, even though you intellectually know better?
Well, here's the kicker. The core problem lies in the gap between your intellect and your capacity. See, you have intellectual capability. That's your knowledge, your strategy, your awareness of what effective performance is supposed to look like. But your capacity under load, that is an entirely different beast. Knowing what to do simply isn't the same as having the actual, accessible capacity to do it when a situation gets real, difficult, or highly pressured. The breakdown doesn't happen in your intellect, it happens in your capacity.
So we really need to redefine how we look at our own potential here. And that brings us to human readiness. Human readiness is the contextual capacity to meet what life, work, relationships, and leadership are asking of you right now. It's not some permanent personality trait, and it's definitely not a fixed score of whether you're a quote-unquote good or bad leader. It is a highly dynamic contextual capacity that you can deliberately map out, strengthen, and build over time.
Okay, let's move into Section 1, your Pocket Coaching Toolkit. Entering the Human Readiness Ecocenter. When you first open up the app, which becomes your digital headquarters, it doesn't just hand you some superficial personality quiz. Instead, it gets right to work mapping your actual internal architecture across 6 personhood intelligences. It evaluates your relational boundaries, your social-emotional regulation, your professional maturity, your spiritual or values-based alignment, your cognitive flexibility, and crucially, your physiological pacing. This creates a really comprehensive whole-person view of the capacities shaping how you live, work, and lead right this minute. It moves way past just feeding you more information to memorize and actually helps you build the capacity you need in real time.
And here is where the app completely shifts the paradigm. Instead of grading you with an arbitrary percentage or a simple pass-fail, it diagnoses your capacities dynamically, based entirely on your current season of life. For instance, you might see that your professional readiness is a reliable strength, but your physiological readiness is flagged as under load because, you're dealing with extreme stress right now. It distinguishes between a permanent personal deficit and a capacity that is simply buckling under too much weight at the moment. Honestly, that distinction alone is profoundly liberating.
Which brings us to Section 2, the core development loop, the engine of daily practice.
So this loop is the daily developmental engine driving your transformation inside the app. It takes your big picture insights and translates them into actual lived experience step by step. First, you notice the pattern, like what actually triggered you. Second, you reconsider the assumptions driving that automatic reaction. Third, you deliberately choose a totally different response based on the specific capacity you want to build. Fourth, you practice that new response out there in the real world. And fifth, you securely log the evidence of that change. Notice, reconsider, choose, practice, evidence. It literally pulls you out of your own head and pushes you straight into action.
Let's look at what this actually feels like. Say you open the app on a Tuesday morning. You immediately land on the Today dashboard, which asks you one simple, incredibly focusing question. What does today require from me? You run through a rapid daily readiness check, just quickly rating your energy, your focus, and your emotional capacity on a scale from 1 to 5, and you tell the app what demands are coming your way. Based on that, it hands you a tailored, highly specific daily micro-prescription. But life happens, right? What happens when things totally go off script? Let's say your boss just dropped a super ambiguous project on your desk at 2 p.m. and your anxiety is absolutely spiking. That is when you hit the Quick Coach feature. This is built for when you need a 2 to 7 minute intervention right now. Whether you're about to step into a really difficult conversation or you feel yourself spiraling into overthinking, Quick Coach provides immediate, structured intervention. It helps you regulate, locate your capacity, and respond effectively instead of just reacting blindly. Or
Take the decision room feature. I mean, we all suffer from second-guessing, reopening decisions, and waiting around for this perfect certainty that, spoiler alert, never arrives. The decision room walks you through the observable facts, the variables that genuinely remain unknown, and your core values. It acts as a guide to help you confidently make the decision and then commit to a vital rule. You absolutely do not reopen the decision unless meaningful new information appears. It's a real game changer.
Next up, for those intense moments that make most of us want to run and hide under our desks, we have the Conversation Studio inside the app. This feature helps you structure feedback, set boundaries, and manage professional or personal conflict without blowing up in anger or just retreating in fear. Instead of just winging a tough talk and hoping for the best, the app helps you map out your desired outcome, the observable facts, and exactly what your opening sentence needs to be.
Just look at this actual prompt the Conversation Studio asks you. What is yours to communicate? What is not yours to control? I want you to just let that sink in for a second. By asking these micro-scenario questions, the app forces you to maintain your line of responsibility in real time. Because you can't control if the other person gets disappointed or defensive, but you absolutely can control whether you communicated your boundary clearly and professionally. All right, moving into Section 3, the Evidence Vault. Stop waiting to feel confident.
This introduces what is arguably the app's most powerful paradigm shift, stopping the endless wait for confidence to magically arrive. We are all socially conditioned to think we have to wait until we feel totally confident before we do something brave. The Human Readiness Framework completely flips that. Imagine opening your app and seeing 46 moments of change logged this month. The Evidence Vault makes your personal development tangible. It tracks the micro moments. Did you set a boundary? Did you survive the acute discomfort of someone disagreeing with you? Did you trust your own judgment instead of texting 5 different people for reassurance? You log it. You prove to yourself, with hard data, that change is actually happening.
And this builds our core understanding of confidence. Confidence grows through evidence. Not evidence that you are perfect, but evidence that you responded differently. The goal inside this app isn't to prove that you are some flawless human being who never ever gets stressed out. That's impossible. The goal is to intentionally gather proof that a different, much more aligned way of living and leading is actually becoming possible for you.
Let's look at our final section, Section 4, Becoming Ready for Your Future, Building Integrity into Your Progress.
The ultimate objective of this entire toolkit is to build structural integrity into your progress as you grow, and it does this through the 90-day reassessment cycle. This isn't just a survival tool for today's stress, it's about keeping yourself honest in who you are becoming over the long haul. Every 90 days, the app prompts you to retake your initial profile. Why? Because human readiness is contextual. As your life changes, maybe you get a big promotion, or have a kid, or launch a massive project, new developmental edges are naturally going to emerge. The app tracks your capacity history, reveals what has successfully moved from a struggle to a reliable strength, and then automatically adjusts your priorities for the new season you're stepping into.
The entire philosophy of the Human Readiness Framework boils down to this. Evidence becomes identity. Identity shapes decisions. Decisions shape a life. Think about it. The micro practices you do in the Quick Coach, the careful choices you make in the decision room, the small but mighty entries you log in the Evidence Vault. They all stack up. They literally change how you view yourself, which changes your decisions, which ultimately transforms the entire trajectory of your life.
We are going to wrap up this explainer with one final thought, and I want you to really mull this over. What evidence will you collect today that proves you are already becoming the person your future requires? You see, you don't have to wait for the future to arrive to start being ready for it. The Human Readiness Ecocenter is your pocket toolkit to finally bridge that gap between knowing what you need to do and actually having the capacity to do it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. And I challenge you, go out there and collect some real evidence today.